This is Stephen Platinum, your friend in wrestling with Platinum versus AEW Dynamite. That's from March 24th, 2021. Again, a show that operated out of a great deal of strength. A show that did a lot with very little. A show that managed to sort of reintroduce a star from AEW's past and make him significant again. Managed to elevate John Silver, I thought, very successfully. I mean, when you get to the point where Darby Allin, young as he is helping to make guys, you're in pretty good shape. And again, a lot done with very little and managed to capitalize. I was wondering, like, are they going to be able to capitalize on the unbelievable match between Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker? And I would say they did that very successfully while doing the thing that they do so well, which is after guys have when any of their wrestlers have a big, significant physical confrontation, especially if they lose that confrontation, they just give them a little time to be out of the public eye, or at least in a wrestling context. I was thinking about this in Raw, and how on Raw, we watched the best match from the pay-per-view was, in my opinion, Drew Galloway and Sheamus, who beat the living shit out of each other. And they had a previous match, like the week before, where they beat the shit out of each other. And then they were on Monday Night Raw, Sheamus wrestling in the first match against their champion Bobby Lashley, and then Drew Galloway wrestling in a handicap match. And there's something about it that just sort of belied belief and intelligence and sort of took away from this monumental struggle that they had, because they're right back literally the next night kind of going at it again. And there's something that gets lost in that translation. Let's just jump into the show. They had the intro for Dynamite. We opened with the champion Kenny Omega taking on Matt Sydal. They gave us a little bit of the history where, if Matt Sydal could win this match, then he would get a shot at the title. Now, this is a foregone conclusion match. We know that Kenny Omega is going to win this. But nonetheless, these two guys really showed off what they could do. That's for sure. Really great match. And at the end of it, Kenny Omega hits that one-winged angel. And again, is anybody's finisher stronger than the one-winged angel right now? Nobody kicks out of it, and I think that's a great thing to establish. As much heat as AEW gets for being like, oh, they're too new school. On the contrary, they're doing all the things that people say are important, right? Establishing finishers, establishing powerful heels, etc., etc. So he beats Matt Sydal. They promote the rest of the card. How novel. And they have a little comedy bit of a sort with John Silver, but it establishes, one, that the Dark Order is going to be behind him. And it also establishes that, Adam Page is kind of hanging out with them and wishes them luck. Go back from commercial. And so Adam Page is taking on Cesar Bononi in a foregone conclusion match. But it's good. It's a good one that I think makes Cesar Bononi actually look a little better. Looks pretty good. But Adam Page wins definitively with his buckshot lariat. Lance Archer talks about Sting and how he's kind of coming after Sting. Thunder Rosa cuts a great promo about the importance, and it's very emotional. And then Britt Baker is there with Tony Schiavone talking about how, even though she lost, it's a very good heel promo. Even though I lost, I'm the one who's getting all the attention. I'm the one that matters. I'm the one. So it's great. So we're further elevating this. And the women's match later on really put a fine point on this. We go to commercial. We come back. We got Christian cutting a promo, and Frankie kind of having like a little bit of a rival kind of thing with the promo. And so they make a match to face each other next week. Cool. Good stuff. Match number 3, The Pinnacle, represented here by Sean Spears and FTR, against Dante Martin of the young team Top Flight and the Varsity Blondes. Of course, foregone conclusion match. Again, you see what I mean? They're operating out of strength. Um, just because we know who is going to win most of these matches, it's not about that. It's about the exhibition of people putting themselves over and then moving into an angle. That's what wrestling is, especially at the mid card level. It's about winning matches and getting embroiled into conflict. So they get a split screen with this, and at the end, Sean Spears wins, pinning Dante Martin. So he wins it for his team. Wardlow then beats up on Pillman, does that falling into a knee thing. And then MJF cuts the promo. So the Pinnacle is firmly established. We have not seen the Inner Circle since they got beat up by the Pinnacle a couple of weeks ago. You see what I'm saying? When you have a roster as big as AEW's, they really don't have enough camera time for everybody. So they do a very smart thing, which is they let guys go off, and then when they come back, it's a big deal. Awesome. We got a promo from Team Taz. Basically, we're all good. Don't worry. Brian Cage is still with the group. Even though Brian Cage seems very tentative, he's still with them. And then QT Marshall cuts a promo, and it's pretty good. Though there is kind of this weird thing about, because there's my wife right there, and I don't get to go home with her because I have to keep working, and Cody just gets to go home to his wife. It's strange because, again, QT was involved in this angle where he was with Bunny, and it's whatever. I'm not going to nitpick that. It's a good promo by QT Marshall. He kind of calls out Cody, his good friend. Cody cuts a very nice promo. I think you might be my best friend, but yeah, we can have this exhibition match, and now there's a little bit of tension. What is this going to blow up? What's going to happen? So, again, they don't use one half of the show to promote what's happening on the other half of the show. They use this show as an infomercial lead-in to the next week and other big matches happening. Hell, they even promoted matches, like in the Kazarian thing. He promoted, a match he's going to have on AEW Dark Elevation on Monday. And Christian, you should watch because it's been 7 years since you've been in a match. Again, they're beginning to have this, I hate to use a corporate word, but they're beginning to have synergy between their various programmings and products. I think it's really smart. Match number 4, the Lucha Brothers and Laredo Kid returning after a long time against the Young Bucks and Brandon Cutler. Laredo Kid really stood out here. Of course, the Lucha Brothers are nuts. That tornado DDT thing on the apron, I thought killed Rey Fenix. Holy crap. Again, if you're going to do a spot fest, these are probably 6 guys who can hang with that spot fest. Laredo Kid eventually catches Brandon Cutler in a Spanish fly where he falls on top of him. So the Spanish fly is one of those moves that I'm like, it looks great, but it doesn't look like it does what they think it does. But when you land on the guy, when you do it, that looks great. And Laredo Kid gets the pin for his team. Kenny Omega attacks, beats up the Lucha Brothers and Laredo Kid. And Omega is cutting a promo about the Bucks, we're supposed to be tight. I didn't choose AEW, I chose you, which I thought was a really great sentiment, really wonderful. He's like, you got to come with me now, but the Bucks refuse and they leave. And then the Lucha Brothers attack and beat the shit out of Kenny Omega. So we're setting up a whole lot of stuff. And the Good Brothers come to make the save for the evil Kenny Omega, but it is too late. And I have a feeling we're going to see a 6-man tag. And sure enough, later on, they announce next week we're going to have a 6-man tag of the Lucha Brothers and Laredo Kid against the Good Brothers and Kenny Omega. Sounds mighty good to me. Jade Cargill cuts a promo. Basically, she's going to run you over, Red Velvet. Awesome. Can't wait for that match. Brandy's talking about a new project, and it turns out it's going to be a reality series with her and Cody. You see what I mean about synergy? It's what they do. And with the Go Big show now over, Cody is certainly not tied up. So we're going to have a reality series. And it's going to be on TNT, further proof that network loves them. We come back from commercial. Eddie Kingston with his busted leg cutting a promo. Jon Moxley also. And basically, Moxley's asking for help from the Bucks. What's that about? Match number 5, Nyla Rose against Tay Conti. The Dark Order kind of backs up Tay Conti, but then they leave her for the match. I was like, what they need to do is they need to have a knockdown, drag-out good match, which they did. And then I was like, in a perfect world, Tay Conti would win because then we would get somebody else in the upper echelon of the women's division to capitalize on all this momentum. And goddamned if they didn't do it. And that hammerlock DDT, Nyla Rose, all credit due there, took it so well, made that move instantly, super brutal. Then Nyla was going to beat up Tay Conti afterwards, but Sheeta whacks her with that stick, and it was brutal. But then Bunny gets a hold of that stick and hits Sheeta even harder, and the fight is on. Then Matt Hardy and his thugs come out, and they watch Bunny kind of lay waste to everybody and laugh, and then Matt Hardy cuts the promo about how, like, Bunny has been overlooked. But now that he's in charge, he's going to make sure she doesn't get overlooked. Great shit. Really good look for the women's division, capitalizing on the greatness that happened last week, further making the women's division an important thing. We'll get a promo then about the Arcade Anarchy match for next week, where there's going to be video games and they're going to be throwing each other through them. I think it's dumb as shit, but I got to admit, at least they're going for it. Kip and Miro. It's going to be Chuck Taylor and Orange Cassidy next week. Sure. And then next week, Scorpio Sky. He's talking some smack about somebody that he wants a match with as well on an upcoming episode of AEW Doc. But he says next week, Scorpio Sky wants, I believe, Mike Sydal. Cool. Commercial. We come back. John Silver against Darby Allin. This match is what it was supposed to be. They got the split screen. They got plenty of time for it. A really good exhibition for John Silver. The commentators did a good job of really putting him over. It's like, look at the size of his arms, even though he's really small. And he was tossing Darby around like frighteningly. Really impressive fashion. Sting came out when it looked like the Dark Order was kind of helping John Silver, but not in an overtly heel way necessarily. But that was the difference maker, as Darby first wiped out the Dark Order with a really cool looking spot. That's the picture that I have of Darby Allin doing the coffin drop from the top rope all the way to the floor, wiping out the Dark Order. And then came in, and John Silver looked like he had him with the Brody Lee style powerbomb, but Darby Allin turned it into a code red, held him down for the pin. They had the moment where they fist bumped out of respect for each other, and then Matt Hardy and company attacked and started beating the shit out of everybody. And they had already established that Matt Hardy blamed the Dark Order for Matt Hardy losing the match to Adam Page. So it all ties in really nice, good continuity there. The fight breaks out, and it's nuts. Sting's hitting people with a bat. Darby Allin's going nuts on Matt Hardy, which is great because they can segue into that match, which I think is a really cool idea. And then the women go at it. Bunny and Tay Conti are going nuts on each other. Lots of great stuff. Lots of great things. That's the way that you go out. No complaints here. The only major thing is AEW tends to do, if they do one thing that's really great, like a big, huge brawl, they'll do it 2 or 3 times a show. I would love to see them restrict things to just once a show, but I also get the fact that this is their flagship show, and this is the only show where they can really go for it and do that kind of thing. But they do tend to repeat themselves again and again and again. They need to separate those things a little better with the brawling after a match, for example. We had it happen a couple times on this show. And then we had kind of similar storylines where we don't know if somebody's turning on his group, meaning Brian Cage on Team Taz and QT Marshall on the Nightmare family. And we literally put those promos back to back of the 2 angles, which are one of the guys might be turning on his team. I don't think you should put those kind of things back to back. It makes it a little obvious. Other than that, very solid show, good stuff. I'm not worried about ring work stuff as much, though I got to say that's been a marked improvement, especially in the women's division. Anyway, this has been Stephen Platinum, your friend in wrestling.